Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 62 of the Loud House, Friendzy. We begin this segment at the Loud House. It's nighttime and there are fights occurring in the Loud House. A police officer arrives and demands that someone open the door. This causes the present Loud siblings to stop fighting. Lily is the only Loud sibling not present. Lincoln then begins to talk to the audience, and everyone and everything else is frozen in time. Lincoln figures that the audience is probably wondering what led to this moment, and Lincoln says to understand that, we need to understand the events that happened a few days ago. So a flashback begins, and this flashback covers the majority of the segment. This flashback shows the events that led up to the moment that began this segment, but there are a few times where we do cut back to the present time, the time where Lincoln is talking to the audience while everyone and everything else is frozen in time. So when this flashback begins, Lincoln admits that the Loud siblings have a reputation for fighting over every little detail, and Lincoln also admits that none of the Loud siblings gain anything from this fighting usually. Yes, none of the Loud siblings usually gain anything from this fighting. And to illustrate Lincoln's point, we see three scenes that follow a general formula. The formula is the Loud siblings will fight over something. At least one of the Loud parents will use an air horn to stop the fighting, and at least one of the Loud parents will make a decision, since none of the Loud siblings could agree on a decision. So the three scenes that follow this formula to illustrate Lincoln's point are the Loud siblings fighting over what music to listen to while riding in Vanzilla, the Loud siblings fighting over what to have for dinner, and the Loud siblings fighting over what to watch on TV. So after these three scenes, Lincoln says that he eventually found out a way for someone's decision to be chosen without having to resort to fighting. So continuing the flashback, Lincoln returns home from school one day, and Lincoln is preparing to watch ARG after he returns home from school, but he sees that Lynn and Margot are watching a sports event on TV. Lincoln goes to see Rita, who's making progress on her novel, and Lincoln says that he usually watches ARG after school. Rita shows sympathy towards Lincoln, but says that it's only fair to let Lynn watch the sports event since Lynn has a friend over. And this leads to Lincoln realizing that the Loud siblings gain special privileges when they have a friend over. Lincoln calls this the playing the friend card system. So the next scene the next few scenes show Lincoln utilizing the playing the friend card system by inviting Clyde over. So yes, these next few scenes show Lincoln and Clyde utilizing the playing the friend card system, and at least one of the Loud parents telling at least some of the Loud sisters that it's only fair to let Lincoln decide because he has a friend over. So the scenes that show Lincoln and Clyde utilizing the playing the friend card system include Lincoln and Clyde watching ARG on TV, Lincoln and Clyde licking the beaters when Lynn Sr. is baking cookies, Lincoln and Clyde playing badminton, and Lincoln and Clyde deciding to have chicken nuggets for dinner. So after these scenes, the next scene shows most of the Loud sisters have gathered together in Lisa and Lily's room for a meeting. Lincoln, of course, is not present for this meeting since he's actually the topic of the meeting, and Lily is not present for the meeting either. So Lisa was the one who called this meeting, and Lisa informs the other present Loud sisters that she figured out that Lincoln figured out that a Loud Sibling can gain special privileges by having a friend over, and like Lincoln, Lisa calls this the playing the friend card system. And Lola Lola says that she's going to do something to Lincoln that she saw on a TV show that she watches, Prison Pageant, I believe it's called. But Lisa says that she has another plan in mind. Lisa stops Lola and says that she has a different plan in mind. So the next scene shows the next day. Lincoln and Clyde are preparing to watch ARC, but they find that Lola is watching Prison Pageant with her own friend, a friend named Roxanne. Lincoln goes to see Rita, who is making progress on her novel, and Lincoln points out that he has a friend over like Lola does. Rita responds that in the case where more than one Loud Sibling has... Yes, Rita responds by saying in the case where more than one Loud Sibling has a friend over, it becomes a first come, first serve approach. That's what happens when more than one Loud Sibling has a friend over. So after that, we see Lincoln and Clyde deciding to have some cookies, but they find out that Luna and Sam have already eaten the cookies. So after that, Lincoln and Clyde try to decide what to have for lunch, but Lynn Sr. reveals that Lucy and Haiku have already chosen what to have for lunch. So after that, Lincoln and Clyde try to go play badminton, but Lori and Whitney are playing badminton right now. Lori then gets closer to Lincoln and says that she's aware of Lincoln utilizing the playing the friend card system, and says that the other Loud sisters besides Lily are going to utilize the playing the friend card system. Lincoln and Clyde then see that the other Loud sisters besides Lily have brought a friend over. So we've seen some of them already, but I'll go ahead and mention them all right now. So Lori's friend is Whitney, Lenny's friend is Becky, Luna's friend is Sam, Luann's friend is Giggles, Lynn's friend is Margot, Lucy's friend is Haiku, Lana's friend is an unnamed kid who likes mud like Lana, so no name is revealed for this character. Lola's friend is Roxanne, Lisa's friend is Darcy. So those are the friends that the Loud sisters besides Lily have invited. And Lynn Sr., Rita, and Lily all see this. Yes, they see the other Loud siblings besides Lily have each brought a friend over. And Lynn Sr. and Rita thinks that this is going to cause trouble, so they decide to retreat to the mall for a few hours. So, yes, Lynn Sr. and Rita leave with Lily. So after that, Lincoln says that even though most of the Loud sisters have decided to utilize the playing the friend card system, Lincoln says that there's a reason why he's called the man with a plan. So Lincoln tried to come up with a strategy to counter the majority of the Loud sisters' strategy. So next up, we see Lynn and Margot are, continuing the flashback, we see Lynn and Margot are watching TV, and Lincoln says that he and his friend, we see Lincoln and Clyde appear and they want to watch ARC, but Lynn points out that she has a friend over like Lincoln does. Lincoln clarifies, yes, Lynn has a friend over. Lincoln, on the other hand, has two friends over. Lincoln invited Liam to join Clyde and him, and Lincoln points out that he has more friends over than Lynn does. So Lincoln, Clyde, and Liam all get to watch ARC, and they're enjoying it. So after that, Lynn returns a little while later and says that she brought two more friends over besides Margot. Lynn, Margot, and these other two friends take over the TV, and eventually Luna and Sam arrive, and Luna is not pleased because Lynn has some popcorn that Luna and Sam wanted. But Lynn points out that she has the most friends over right now, And Luna is surprised about this because she thought that the majority of the Loud sisters were supposed to be on the same side. Lynn mentioned that she wanted to outnumber the number of friends that Lincoln brought over, and Lynn pretty much admits that she's kind of adopting an every sibling for themselves mentality now. And Luna decides that two can play that game, or three, since Lincoln, Lynn, and now Luna are resorting to bringing more friends over than just one friend. So yes, so when this happens, Luna wants to play badminton while Lenny and Becky are already playing badminton, and Luna reveals that that she has 4 friends over. So besides Sam, we see some other characters. 2 of them also appeared in Alice for Love, and I don't recognize the other character. So so in response to that, after that, the next scene shows Lynn and her friends are still watching TV. And Lenny arrives wanting to watch a fashion show, and Lenny points out that she has 5 friends over. She had Becky over. Chaz and Dana are also over, and 2 other characters. So yes, Lenny has the most friends over now. And then next up, Lori wants to watch a dating advice show, but Lenny points out that she has 5 friends over. But Lori reveals that she has 6 friends over now. So after that, Lisa arrives wanting to watch something on TV. And Lisa reveals that she has 7 friends over. So Darcy was the first friend she invited over, but she also invited David and some other kindergartners. So after that, we see Lola has invited 8 friends over. And then we see Lucy has invited 9 friends over. Most of them are members of the Morticians Club. And I think some of them were actually characters that were at Maggie's birthday party in Funny Business. And then eventually, then Luna reveals that she invited 10 friends over. And then Luann reveals that she invited 11 friends over. So besides Giggles, she invited some other unnamed characters, but they're all from clown school, like Giggles. They're all dressed up like clowns anyway. So at this point in time, there's a lot of people in the Loud house right now, and the Loud siblings that are present are beginning to fight with each other over the number of friends that one of the siblings brought over. We see Lori. We see Lori being angry at Lana for inviting 12 friends that like to play in the mud. Lana argues that Lincoln invited 13 random people from the arcade that aren't even his friends. Lincoln insists that he does know them, but he can't remember if one of the individuals he invited over. Lincoln is trying to figure out if one of the individuals he invited over is named Jeff or Josh. And Lisa brings up the threat level chart from Brawl in the Family and says that things are going to escalate. But then we hear some of the friends that were invited over are starting to fight amongst each other. And so, yes, they eventually break out into a fight. Lisa says that the threat level has escalated. Yes, Lisa says that the threat level has escalated to erupting volcano. And while the friends are fighting each other, the Loud siblings are all blaming another Loud sibling for this mess. Lori blames Lincoln for inviting random strangers into the house. Lori accuses Lincoln of starting this mess Lori blames Lincoln and claims that the complete strangers. Lori says that the random strangers that Lincoln invited started the fight that's happening amongst the other individuals. Lincoln, though, says that Lola's friends... Yes, Lincoln argues that Lola's pageant friends look to be rather antagonistic. Lola argues that Lynn's sports friends are probably the most belligerent of the group. And so this leads to the present Loud siblings beginning to fight each other. And this is where we lead to the moment that started this segment, where the police officer arrives and demands that someone open the door. So we're back with Lincoln talking to the audience while everyone and everything else is frozen in time. And so Lincoln says that they're all caught up to speed now, or yes, we, the audience, are now caught up to speed about what led to this. So Lincoln honors the police officer's demands and opens the door. And the police officer tells everyone who isn't a resident of the Loud house to leave. So the non-Loud family members leave the house, and after they leave, Lynn Sr., Rita, and Lily return home. They also look like they've gotten some groceries, even though they went to the mall. And Lynn Sr. and Rita are wondering what's going on, and the police officer figures that they're the parents. The police officer reveals that the Loud family has. Yes, the police officer reveals that the Loud family has received a $200 ticket for a noise violation. The police officer tells the Loud parents to control their kids because this is a nice neighborhood, and then he leaves. So the Loud parents request an explanation about what's going on. Lincoln volunteers to tell the story, saying that he's pretty much has the story memorized, so he can fill them in. So we get a time skip that finishes. We get a time skip that shows Lincoln finishing up the story. So the Loud parents respond by saying that all of the Loud siblings, besides Lily, will have to use their allowances to pay for the noise violation ticket. And the Loud siblings, besides Lily, do accept this punishment. And the Loud parents also hope that the Loud siblings, besides Lily, learn something. And they do agree that they're not going to resort to playing the friend card system anymore. The Loud siblings do agree that from here on out, they should probably take turns about making decisions, whether it's what to have for dinner, what to watch on TV, and any other sort of activity. And the Loud siblings do agree that this is a good idea. Lincoln actually suggests that Lori choose what to have for dinner tonight, since she's the oldest. And Lori is about to decide something, but the Loud parents say that they already made the decision to have goulash for dinner, and the Loud siblings don't understand why this is. And then we see Kotaro and another character arrive, and the Loud parents admit that they're playing the friend card system. Yes, the Loud parents admit that they're utilizing the playing the friend card system. And the Loud siblings, besides Lily, have frustrated looks on their faces in response. And that is how we end this segment. So this segment stands out. This segment is an interesting segment because it does bring up this segment I've seen has caused some debates. I've seen some fans have debated over this segment. Some fans seem to enjoy this segment. Some fans don't seem to like this segment, but for different reasons. Yeah, that's probably the thing that stood out to me for this segment. There were some fans that didn't like this segment, but the reasons why they didn't like the segment differed. And part of that was because of which character or characters that the viewer sympathized with. I've seen some very different reactions, to say the least. So to go into further detail, so the conflict of this segment is between Lincoln and 9 of the 10 Loud sisters. Lily is the only Loud sister who doesn't participate in this conflict. And yes, the conflict is about special privileges being given to a Loud sibling that has a friend over. And the conflict pretty much starts with Lincoln utilizing the playing the friend card system. But eventually, the 9 of the 10 Loud sisters start to utilize the playing the friend card system to counter against Lincoln. And then Lincoln counters by having more friends over. And then the Loud sisters, besides Lily, counter. But they end up betraying each other. And it turns into every Loud sibling for themselves situation. So, yes, like I said, the main debate I've seen about why some don't like this segment has to do with which of the Loud siblings that fans sympathized with. Now, some fans really didn't like how Lincoln acted in this segment. Some fans said they really disliked Lincoln and thought that Lincoln was the instigator who started the conflict, and thus they don't sympathize with Lincoln. They sympathize with the Loud sisters. While on the other hand, some fans sympathized more with Lincoln and didn't really sympathize with the Loud sisters. And then there are some that split the difference, and that's probably how I would approach it. I would have a split the difference sort of approach. I would say that Lincoln probably. Yeah, I would say Lincoln trying to use the playing the friend card system to his advantage wasn't the right thing to do. But at the same time, I would say that it wasn't really right for the Loud sisters to gain up on Lincoln and play the friend card system back to gain up on him. But yeah, I would say that all the Loud siblings were pretty much portrayed. That's actually what while some fans argue about who they sympathize with more between Lincoln and 9 of the 10 Loud sisters, other fans do feel that that they all kind of share the blame for the conflict, and that's how I see it too. I think they all were at fault at the conflict, and that's actually something I did like about this segment. While some people had mixed thoughts about this segment, I actually did like this segment, and one of the reasons I like this segment is because it portrays all of the Loud siblings that participated in the conflict to be at fault. They didn't really single out any of the Loud siblings, or certain Loud siblings weren't made into karma Houdinis, and there was no disproportionate retribution. So that's actually why I like this segment. And I feel like it was a case where you could understand the parties involved even if you didn't agree with their methods. That's another thing about it. I feel like even if you didn't agree with them using the playing the friend card system, I think they were still portrayed in a rather sympathetic light. Like how in Lincoln's case, I can see where some fans are coming from when they sympathize with Lincoln. Where some fans bring up how Lincoln does tend to be outnumbered by his sisters, and sometimes they do gain up on him. So that's why some fans actually sympathized with Lincoln utilizing the playing the friend card system. And in my case, like I said, I split the difference. I think utilizing the playing the friend card system wasn't the right thing to do. But at the same time, I can understand why Lincoln might have resorted to that method, even if I don't agree with that method or felt that it wasn't the right thing to do. I could still understand his point of view. And the same can be said for the Loud sisters, besides Lily, since she didn't partake in the conflict of the segment. Yes, I can see the Loud sisters were trying to counter Lincoln taking advantage of the playing the friend card system. But I also do see where some fans are coming from when they say that it feels like gaining up on Lincoln didn't really do them any favors, or gaining up on Lincoln like that didn't portray them in the best light. And some fans think it kind of proves the point that Lincoln does tend to get gained up on or outnumbered by his sisters. But the thing I did like about this segment is how it eventually happened. While the Loud sisters, or what happened by the end of it. Yes, that's what I want to say. What I liked about this segment is, even though it started off being a case of Lincoln versus his sisters, it eventually became a situation where all the Loud siblings involved pretty much were looking out for themselves. Or yes, while the Loud sisters gained up on Lincoln initially, it eventually turned into every Loud sibling for themselves. The Loud sisters actually backstabbed each other and started to look out for themselves. And that's again why I like this segment. It didn't really portray. I feel like all the Loud siblings that were part of the conflict were held accountable for their part of the conflict. Lincoln was considered. The segment considers Lincoln to be selfish for trying to take advantage of the playing the friend card system, but the segment also acknowledges that the Loud sisters that were part of the conflict were also guilty of letting selfishness get the better of them. And that's something that I noticed some fans don't seem to want to acknowledge. Yes, like I mentioned how some fans didn't really like how Lincoln acted in this segment. Yes, I noticed some fans didn't like how Lincoln acted in this segment, and some fans were quick to comment about how selfish Lincoln was or how entitled he acted. And after I first watched the segment and rewatching it for this recap and thoughts video, my response is, in all fairness, the Loud sisters were shown to be selfish and entitled too. If you're going to throw stones at Lincoln for acting selfish in this segment, then you ought to be throwing stones at the Loud sisters besides Lily, because they acted selfish too. So that's what I did appreciate about the segment. They didn't single out Lincoln or the Loud sisters for that matter. They were all portrayed playing a role in the conflict of the segment. And by the end of the segment, they were all held accountable for it. Yes, the Loud parents decided that the Loud siblings that participated in the conflict were going to have to use their allowances to pay the noise violation ticket. So again, I think that was a fair punishment for their actions, and I feel that is not disproportionate retribution. They didn't single Lincoln out. They didn't single the Loud sisters out. Lincoln and the Loud sisters that participated in the conflict all had to pay the price for it, and it acknowledged that they all acted selfish. They all acted entitled at some point. So I think that the segment did really well at acknowledging that they all were at fault for the conflict. They didn't single them out. And this highlights what I think season 3 did better about compared to the first 2 seasons. I have mentioned before, I do think the first 2 seasons do sometimes have a bad habit of making Lincoln out to look like the sole bad guy, or they try to act like Lincoln's entirely at fault for a conflict or single Lincoln out without holding the other characters at fault accountable. They didn't do that in this segment. Lincoln and his sisters that participated in the conflict were all held accountable. They all had to pay the price, and none of them received disproportionate retribution. The punishment fit the crime or fit the offense, so I did appreciate that. And like I said, I think season 3 overall does that a lot better. There's probably one entry in season 3 that I do feel kind of slips back into singling Lincoln out for something that other characters were at fault for doing, but that's not until towards the end of season 3. We'll cross that bridge when we eventually get to it. But for this segment, I actually like this segment because it showed the Loud siblings at fault for the conflict. Were all shown to have their flaws, but also learning a lesson about it. They didn't really vilify any of them, but also acknowledge that none of them were perfect, and they didn't single anyone out, and none of them received disproportionate retribution, but a fitting punishment. Now, the other thing I liked about this segment was we got to see some other characters outside of the Loud family, outside of the McBride family, and outside of the joint Santiago and Casagrande family. And like I said, I do like those other characters that show us the lives of the Loud siblings outside of their family lives. Granted, most of them didn't talk, or they only had a few lines here or there, but it was still nice to see them being acknowledged. Like how Darcy returned, being Lisa's friend, so that was an example of serialized elements with Lisa and Darcy being friends. Oh, and David from L is for Love also returned later on, and I thought that was nice too that they acknowledged David. And Sam returned too, actually. Yes, that's right. Sam returned in this segment too. And I bring up Sam in particular because from what I understand, Sam was actually not originally part of this segment. Originally, the character that was going to be the friend that Luna initially invited over was apparently going to be a different character from what I understand. But from what I was able to gather, I couldn't find out who the original character was going to be. But in response to the events of Ella's for Love, they ended up adding Sam in at the last second. So that's why Sam had no dialogue in this segment. It was because she was a last-minute addition to the segment. It won't be until towards the end of season 3 when Sam gets to have a... Yes, it won't be until later on in season 3 when Sam gets to have a speaking role again. So we'll cross that bridge when we eventually get to it. Now, while some people were glad to see Sam return, there were some people that were not too happy. And I'm not talking about just the usual debates that you would expect with Sam's character and Sam's bond with Luna. Yes, those debates do happen, but there was another debate that was caused by this. Yes, the other debate I'm talking about is how some fans were beginning to worry about the possibility, or yes, some fans finding out that Sam was added at the last second to this segment had led to some fans worrying that the staff and crew members might be too quick to just have Sam be the character affiliated with Luna to appear in future Luna entries. To help give a better idea of what I'm trying to explain about this debate, some fans are worried that other characters affiliated with Luna might not get a chance to shine if Sam continues to appear. And yes, the fans I'm talking about for this debate, they have nothing against Sam herself, and they have nothing against her bond with Luna. It's more that they're worried that Sam might become a one-person spotlight stealing squad. That's what some fans are worried about. And to give a better idea, or yes, to give another example from the show to illustrate this concern that some fans have, some fans feel that this is the case with Clyde, or some fans feel that Clyde is a one-person spotlight stealing squad with regards to Lincoln's friends. Some fans think that the show does have a habit of having Clyde always be the friend that Lincoln hangs out with. And fair enough, Clyde is Lincoln's best friend, but other fans would appreciate it if other members of Lincoln's inner circle got a chance to shine. A good example of this would be season 2. Yes, in the season 2 segment, in the season 2 segment, Back in Black, Lincoln was working on a school project, but he was working on this school project with Rusty Spokes, not Clyde. And some fans did appreciate that because they liked seeing Lincoln have some one-on-one interactions with one of his friends that isn't Clyde. And yes, while Clyde is a character that some fans seem to not like, other fans don't have a problem with Clyde himself. They just don't like how the show tends to have Clyde be the friend that Lincoln hangs out with more often than not, and wish to see more members of Lincoln's inner circle hang out with Lincoln one-on-one. And okay, yeah, I think that's a fair point of seeing Lincoln interacting with other characters besides Clyde, even though Clyde is his best friend. I can understand that. And that's what I can understand with regards to some people's concerns about Sam possibly becoming a one-person spotlight stealing squad. Yes, I understand. That's what some fans are concerned about. They have nothing against Sam's character or her bond with Luna. They just are worried about other characters affiliated with Luna being thrown on the back burner in favor of Sam. How Roadie to Nowhere, yes. An earlier season 3 entry showed Luna's bond with Chunk, her roadie, and some fans did appreciate having more insight on Chunk's character, and that's what some fans were hoping to see, some interactions with other characters affiliated with Luna. Like it would be nice to see Chunk get some more appearances, but some fans are hoping to see Tabby have more appearances too. And yes, I noticed Tabby didn't appear at all in this segment, and I actually was surprised that they didn't feature Tabby, and was kind of sad that Tabby wasn't featured in the segment. I think there's a lot of potential for Tabby's character, and I think that's actually an example that some fans have brought up with that concern. While some fans don't mind Sam's character, they are worried that they're worried about the staff and crew members only featuring Luna interacting with Sam, and they're worried about the possibility of Chunk or Tabby getting thrown on the back burner. And I can understand that. Yes, I think if they can strike a balance where they can feature entries with Sam, feature entries with Chunk, and feature entries with Tabby, that would be nice. So I do understand where some fans are coming from, especially because some fans do feel that Clyde's interactions with Lincoln happen at the expense of the other members of Lincoln's inner circle, like Rusty, Liam, and Zach. And I do understand that. It would be nice to see Lincoln having more one-on-one interactions with Liam, Zach, or Rusty. And yeah, I can understand that, making sure that they don't rely on one character to always be the character that a member of the Loud family interacts with. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, at this point in time, as of the recording of this video, some details about the Casa Grande spin-off series had been revealed, and some fans, there's some characters that are going to be introduced in season 4 of the Loud House, and they're going to appear in the Casa Grande spin-off series. I'm trying to keep it vague. I'm trying to keep it a little vague since they're not, since we hadn't gotten to season 4 yet. But from what little has been revealed of this, while some fans do like this new character that's being introduced for the Casa Grande spin-off series, some fans are worried about the possibility of the other 3 kids from Great Lake City, Samir, Casey, and Nikki, being thrown on the back burner in favor of this other character. So, I can understand. I can understand those concerns too. People feel that happened with Clyde sort of taking the spotlight from other friends of Lincoln. So I can understand where some fans are coming from with their concerns about certain characters kind of usurping other characters affiliated with a certain character when there's potential for those other characters. So I know I went on a bit of a tangent there, but I hope my hope was to kind of illustrate clearly what some fans were concerned about. Because, like I said, to my knowledge, I don't know who the character was that was initially going to be featured in Friendzy before Sam was added in at the last second. I don't know who that character is, but I do understand why some fans would be worried about other characters affiliated with Luna being thrown on the back burner. And yeah, I understand that because some fans do feel that Clyde kind of usurped other characters with potential, and they're worried that something like that might happen in the Casa Grande spin-off series. So we'll just have to be patient. We'll have to see what happens. But yes, I am hoping that they can strike a balance with several characters, interactions with other affiliates. I'm hoping that they can strike a balance where they can feature different characters interacting with different members of the Loud family, so that certain characters don't usurp other characters with potential. I can understand those concerns. So yes, so Sam appeared. We mentioned Darcy and David had appeared. And Giggles, yes, Giggles finally returned in this segment. Giggles was last shown in Season 1's Dance Dance Resolution, which was her first appearance. And we do get to see some other background characters that are probably from clown school, like Luann and Giggles. But yes, I was glad to see Giggles return. She didn't get to talk, but it was nice that they remembered Giggles. And Haiku also returned too, but I was sad that Polly and Tabby didn't appear. Yes, I mentioned Tabby didn't appear in this segment, and Polly didn't appear in this segment either. And I thought it was unfortunate that Tabby and Polly, I thought it was unfortunate how Tabby and Polly both ended up not I thought it was unfortunate how Tabby and Polly both ended up not appearing in this segment, since they brought Giggles back and they brought Haiku back. And I brought it up before in some other recap and thoughts videos, but Haiku at least does get to return with some speaking roles more often in Season 3. So I'm glad that they brought Giggles back, and I am glad that Polly at least was acknowledged in a few cameos here or there. And I was glad that Giggles was acknowledged in this cameo. But I am hoping that Giggles and Polly can have more prevalent roles in the future, and I am hoping the same for Tabby, and I'm hoping that Tabby gets to return. Tabby hasn't been seen since Dance Dance Resolution, and I have brought up before the 4 Lincoln-aged friends of the Loud Sisters are from Dance Dance Resolution. They're probably some of my favorite minor characters in the show, and I think there's a lot of potential for them. And at least Haiku is starting to see that potential, but I'm hoping that the other 3 get their chance to shine too. So besides that, some fans also did notice how some of Lenny's friends could also be considered Lori's friends. So some fans thought that was kind of interesting, how Lenny was shown to have friends that were also friends with Lori. And to be fair, that does happen in real life. Yes. I remember when my own brother and I were both in high school, we did have friends that overlapped with our age groups. Like some of my friends ended up becoming friends of my brother, and some of my brother's friends ended up becoming friends with me. So I thought that was a nice little realistic touch. And yeah, some fans had speculated about if those characters might like hanging out with Lenny more than Lori or something like that, or some fans thought of some fan works to go along with that, and otherwise, while I'm thinking about it, there is going to be a later season 3 entry dedicated to Lenny's friends, but they are other characters. Like, they weren't really featured in this segment. If they were featured at all. Or, yes, I don't think they were featured in this segment, but Lenny does gain some more of her own individual friends that she doesn't share with Lori. So we'll cross that bridge when we eventually get to that. Otherwise, yes, I know some fans were surprised Carol Pingree actually didn't appear in this segment, since Selfie Improvement was about Lori and Carol burying the hatchet with each other and becoming friends. Though I do remember seeing a fan work where someone actually offered a solution for why, or offered a possible explanation for why Carol might not have appeared in this segment. A fan suggested that Carol might have figured that this would end in disaster and tried to warn Lori against it. That's essentially what that fan work was about. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting detail. I wouldn't be surprised if there were maybe some other similar fan works for why certain characters didn't appear in this segment. Oh, and I guess while I'm on the topic, with Friends of the Loud Sisters, this is actually going to be or Margot, yes. Lynn's friend Margot is featured in this segment, and I bring Margot up because when Margot appears next time towards the end of Season 3, she's going to have a slight redesign and a new voice artist, and Margot will gain a more prevalent role later on in Season 3, so that's just a little by-the-way detail. Margot is one of the few named characters in the show that actually do change voice artists. So I thought that was a detail worth bringing up, but we'll talk more about that once we reach that particular segment's recap and thoughts video. So otherwise, that might be about it. That was a bit on the longer side, I acknowledge, but there definitely was a lot of details to cover in this segment. So, like I said, I actually did like this segment because I feel the characters that were part of the conflict were all held accountable. I feel like none of the characters were really singled out and none of them received disproportionate retribution. I would say the punishment they all received was a fair punishment, and they were all held accountable. No one was singled out for it. And I also think the lesson about learning to take turns about making decisions is a good lesson to have, and not trying to take advantage of certain situations like playing the friend card system. And I do think that I did like the cameos for several of the characters that were present. I especially liked Giggles' return, since we hadn't seen her since Season 1. Although I was bummed out that some other characters didn't get to appear in this segment, like Tabby or Polly Payne. And I also did like how this segment gave us a little more insight about some other details. Like, we find out that Liam is a fan of ARG like Lincoln and Clyde are. So I thought that was a nice little touch too. And otherwise, I liked how we got to learn. We got to see a little bit more of characters that are affiliated with the Loud family outside of their family lives, even if some of them didn't really get to talk much. It was still nice insight all the same. And otherwise, that's right. Another detail is we do see Rita working on her novel throughout the course of the segment. And again, that's another good example of serialized elements. We see Rita continuing to pursue her dream job of becoming an author. And it does remind me about how some fans, myself included, are hoping that we will get an entry that covers Rita finally publishing her novel. So otherwise, I would say that might be about it for this particular segment. So as of this video, we've now discussed the B segment for episode 62 of The Loud House on this channel. Take care, and until next time.